So you have so many different participants approving a short sale. Okay? I think the number one misconception that we have during a short sale is that the bank is the seller. So I actually have listing agents. Probably nobody in this room though, okay? But I do have listing agents that will contact me directly with multiple offers and say, Sam, which one do you want? That's not my responsibility. The seller still owns the property. Your seller, treat them like a seller. Present the offers to them, okay? That's obviously our fiduciary obligation as a real estate agent. They're the ones executing, executing the offers, at which point the offer that they accept and execute is the one that you're going to send to me. Obviously, our role as a bank is not to accept offers, it's to approve a minimum amount of a net that is less than what we're owed. Okay, that's our responsibility in the transaction. And like I said, always treat your seller like the seller. I mean, all these different entities, whether it be junior lien holders, private mortgage insurance, investors, and so forth, are involved in a transaction, and getting them all on board and making sure you guys are aware of all the individuals. Use your escrow officers, use title to figure out, do I have MI? Do I have judgments? Do I have a junior lien on this property? Because the worst thing that can happen is in the 11th hour finding out a lien holder and we can't close because we have to get their release on the lien or their deficiency release. And knowing all the players, so to speak, involved in the transaction is vital to closing that transaction. So if you're not aware of it and you don't know how to pull a title report and you don't utilize your escrow, that's what they're there for in your title companies. A little plug for you title people. I won't say anybody specifically because I don't want to get in trouble, but utilize them. Okay, I'm on page 6. How are we doing on time? Good? Okay. HAFA. Okay. Anybody who can tell me the acronym of HAFA, get a gold star. Anybody? I heard it in unison. That was awesome. Literally in unison. And I didn't let anybody know we were going to be asking that question exactly. Home affordability foreclosure alternative, okay? And that's from the people that brought you HAMP, the administration, okay? They're implementing a process to expedite short sales, and Wells Fargo is obviously a part of that, and that's part of the stimulus program. And HAFA, there's been some changes. Are you guys aware of the changes on HAFA? HAFA in the very beginning was a lot of documentation, a lot of things required, limitations. A lot of clients, at least I saw, were not qualifying for HAFA. Servicers are no longer, and I'm referring to Wells Fargo, are not requiring to verify in many cases a borrower's financial information to determine the borrower's total monthly mortgage payment exceeds 31% of the borrower's monthly gross income. Okay? And 31% is the big number, and that's 31% of your housing ratios. And that number is not only for HAFA, it's for HAMP. So if an individual has over 31% of their housing ratios, which is their PITI and homeowners if applicable, in those cases they're not going to qualify for HAMP. So that's why we're lowering rates and lowering terms and reducing principal many times to attain that below 31% housing ratio. If clients in many situations don't have the income, then unfortunately they're not going to qualify for HAMP. Okay, so in HAFA, if a client on the other spectrum is under 31% of their housing ratios, many times they're not going to qualify for HAFA. That doesn't mean they can't go through our proprietary short sale. It just means that they won't qualify. So they've changed some of their requirements, but keep in mind though, that a lot of these requirement changes are for individuals over 60 days or later in default. Okay, so if somebody's current, they're going to have to show financial hardship. They're going to have to show their income documentation. And a lot of it's going to be case by case. So if you have clients that are current or 30 days or less than 60 days in default, it's going to be difficult for them to show no income documentation. The bank wants to make sure that this client isn't doing what they call a strategic default. Are you guys familiar with that? And we definitely don't want to set a precedent, so we want to be able to prevent that. These programs are definitely for the people that need them and have a hardship, a legitimate hardship. Go to the next page. There's some things, and I know a lot of you who deal with me in our portfolio and our proprietary short sale, you don't always deal with HAFA. There are some benefits to HAFA, okay? And I think the most important thing that anybody who's ever worked with me, and this is where that little 2-page sheet, hope you guys have it. Let me see if I have it. Okay, perfect. I have it. this little sheet is going to take place. Do you guys all have this? If you don't, scan it. I can email it to you. Give me your cards. I'll email it to you if you want it on your computer as a PDF. It's really important to make sure you contact me. When do most banks tell you to contact them? When you receive an offer, okay? I want you to contact me when you're listing the property. Why? We want a game plan, okay? I'm part of your team. Think of me as part of your team in closing a transaction, okay? We want to determine what kind of property condition do we have. We want to determine, is this property HAFA eligible? Because if it is, guess what? If there's a foreclosure looming and there's a sale date, HAFA can postpone a sale date with a listing agreement for 120 days. Did you guys know that? Okay, good. If it's a proprietary short sale, okay, and there's a sale date, I can't postpone it unless I have an offer. Okay, so we're looking into that. We're looking, is there a sale date? And I can determine that in my system. I can determine whether or not we're in a situation, obviously if the property has it, and I'm here locally. I can come to the property, check it out. I'm talking to you guys and figuring out the condition of the property, whether we need to order a drive-by appraisal or an interior appraisal. And so we're game planning ahead of time. We're figuring out how much time we have till the sale date and so forth. And that is crucial in making sure that we have a successful transaction. So make sure you contact me, and that's the most important part. Contact me when you're listing the property, and I'll be your point of contact. Half of vacant, another misconception, vacant properties rented for not more than 12 months or prior to the date are many times now eligible for HAFA. The one thing that they haven't changed is that if there's a junior lien asking for more than $6,000, that's not going to happen. But our proprietary short sale, we will do and give out more than $6,000 to a junior lien. We go to the next page. We talked about incentives, okay? Through our program, we have many incentives. HAFA also offers incentives, $3,000. The servicers are receiving incentives of $1,500, and the investors, $1,000. And like I said, if a client isn't eligible for HAFA, they can always go through a proprietary short sale. Go to the next page. So why, this is a question you guys probably have, why is each short sale process so different? Why is your Wachovia short sales, and that is part of the portfolio short, why is it so much different than a Wells Fargo investor transaction? Okay, let's go to page 10. Those of you guys who like statistics, here you go. There's beautiful pie graph, pie chart. I know you guys all love that from statistics. So 20% of the total amount of loans within Wells Fargo are portfolio loans. And portfolio loans, and I'm going to be redundant again and beat a dead horse, portfolio loans are loans that are owned by the bank and are kept within their balance sheets, okay? Investor loans, the other 80% of the loans, are loans that are basically underwritten, bundled up, and sold in the secondary market as a mortgage-backed security, okay? So you have 66% of those loans that are Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie Mac. Those are all within Wells Fargo. You have 20% that are Wells Fargo-owned loans, which includes the Wachovia, previously World Savings loans, and then 14% which are private investors. And those guys are all over the place, the private investors, okay? So depending on your transaction, it's going to be a little different. Fannie and Freddie and FHA are going to have certain guidelines. Private investors are going to have certain guidelines. Within our portfolio loans, we're going to have certain guidelines. We obviously aren't handcuffed by investors with our portfolio transactions. So we're going to be able to be a little more lenient on a lot of different things because we make the decisions on those transactions, not an investor. And so that's crucial. So if you want more detailed information, it gives you a little information between and what the difference is of all these different entities within short sales. Go to the next page. Wells Fargo, changing the short sale process, reactive to proactive. And I mentioned to you guys, about 2008, we wanted to become a lot more proactive in our short sales. How are we doing that? Implementing an individual like myself in your market. Those of you who've worked with me, I'm here in your market. You guys want to utilize me, not only to go to clients' houses, I talk to clients. So many times you guys are talking to clients and they're going to tell you, okay, I see all the benefits to the bank, I see all the benefits to you as a listing agent because you're going to get the commission on my property. What's my benefit? You're going to tell them a lot of short sale benefits. And in a lot of cases, okay, they're going to say, yeah, I don't know about that. That's not really a benefit. Sometimes I think you guys need an advocate, somebody from the bank to reiterate what you're already telling them. I'm going to basically reiterate all the benefits of a short sale to the client, the credit, the future home ownership, the incentives. You might tell them there's a $5,000 incentive for a short sale, and they're going to be like, yeah, right. No, there's not. I was told you get nothing in a short sale. You're going to have them talk to me, and I can verify that and explain how that incentive works to them. So utilize me in those cases, and I talk to most of our borrowers, our sellers. So definitely contact me directly and have your clients, and I can contact them as well. Okay, what transactions, I'm on page 13. What transactions do I work on personally? It's the Wachovia, the former Pick-a-Pay World Savings Loan, the Wells Fargo portfolio, and then I'm also, like I mentioned, a liaison for your investor short sale transactions, okay? I'm not going to be, like I said, I'm not part of the investor group, I'm not an investor, so I can't, my team actually approves your short sales on your portfolio loans. Wells Fargo is not approving these short sales with the investor transactions, but I can, like I said, be a liaison and steer you towards the right direction of the departments and help escalate these transactions. The markets that we're currently in, California, Arizona, Florida, Nevada, Virginia, Maryland, and New Jersey. There's individuals like myself implemented that are privy to your market to assist you on those short sales. Okay, page 14. Local short sale manager, like I mentioned, in your area to develop relationships with you guys. An available local contact for realtors to review strategies, on-site property. A lot of this is review for most of you guys. Explain short sale options to clients. Our approvals on our portfolio loans are 7 to 10 business days. Like I said, the reason for that is because it's internal and we're able to approve them. I know with our investor transactions that they're trying to stick to 30 days, but a lot of that is investor to investor. Go to the next page. I'm trying to get through all of this because I know we only have a few minutes here. Sorry, I'm skimming through a lot of this. So on our end, what are we doing to be proactive? As I mentioned before, we really want to do short sales and prevent foreclosures. We're sending out mailers explaining these incentives to our clients. Okay, outbound calls, short sale marketing letters, incentives, as I mentioned, from $25,000 to $5,000 for our clients. And our campaigns referencing using qualified realtors like yourselves for their transactions. On page 16. I mentioned this already, get us involved early in the process. Notify us, okay, when you're listing a property, so if it's not one that I can handle, I can direct you to the department that will explain what the process is. I can explain HAFA to you and your borrower. What are the benefits? Does the client go through HAFA or do they go through our proprietary short sale? Those are things that we want to discuss early instead of receiving an offer and then having it held up in escrow while we're clients deciding whether or not they want to do HAFA or our proprietary short sale. So that's key as well. Streamline process through Equator. Anybody here work on Equator? Oh, there's a groan in the room. You guys don't like Equator? Yeah. So I haven't been trained. Equator is implemented on our Wells Fargo investor transactions, not on our portfolio transactions as of right now. If you want to go to the next page, I'm not going to go through this, but page 17 basically discusses Equator and some steps. And I'm sure a lot of you agents that have worked on Equator, you might want to help those who haven't if they have transactions. But here's some steps, and then if you have individuals, if you want to email me directly, I can give you guys more further information on Equator as well. I'm on page 18. I think some key pivotal information to know when you're doing a short sale is when we're working with the realtors to make sure the property is appropriately priced. So many times, you guys are an important reason to get a hold of me when you're listing the property is we want to make sure, because you're going to be listing the property maybe 3 weeks down the road, and you listed at $280, but our appraisal is in for $240. I can let you know that so you can appropriately list it or reduce prices, or obviously, hopefully, you're going to get the best offer and the one that's most likely to close. But in the same instance, if you're listing it and you're not having any bites, letting me know what you're listing it at, and I can in return let you know what we have it appraised for might be beneficial to all parties involved. Why a buyer wouldn't be eligible? Anyone with a close relationship, and this is important, and I think most of you guys know this, and there's a lot of fraud out there with buyers and sellers being in situations where people are rebuying their own property through LLCs. So if you have an LLC, which is basically a business buying the property or a trust, we're going to ask for quite a bit of documentation to verify that there's no relationship between the buyer and the seller and so forth. So that's definitely important. Some suggestions to possibly reduce the timeline: submit all the documentation. I'm going to send you guys at listing all the information that is needed. If it's an investor transaction, make sure you know everything ahead of time that you're going to need and gather from the client so that when you do attain an offer, what's the most difficult thing that we have with buyers right now? Not staying what to properties? Committed. They're not committed because they have so much inventory and they have so many options. And so it's difficult. Supply and demand. There's a lot of supply out there. And unfortunately, we want to make sure that our clients don't stray away from the properties where we get offers on. So let's make sure that we have all of our documentation so that when we do send it in, it doesn't hold up the transaction. Go to the next page. Another thing that through investment I think is really important is to know that a short sale approval, many times, not on our portfolio loans, we're going to have a little more leniency. A lot of times it's good for 30 days. A lot of times clients, sellers, buyers, everyone's asking for extensions. We'll grant the extensions, but it has to be approved by your seller. So we need addendums to extend escrow, fully executed. So make sure you get that, and make sure and the most important thing is I have people who will contact me a week after it's been expired, and they'll say, hey, I need an extension. Make sure that you contact the servicer, or if it's a portfolio, in that case me, before the transaction, that approval has expired, and that's key as well, to make sure there's no sale dates looming and so forth. If a dual agency applies, the maximum commissions is 5%. Sometimes it's 3% with some investors. If you're representing both parties, actual commissions can be confirmed during the introduction call. Buyer concessions must be approved by the investors as well. On our portfolio transactions, like I said, we'll approve the concessions, but a lot of times it's investor by investor. I know we're running out of time, so let's skip to page. We're almost out of time, right? Let's skip to page 21. Some common short sale challenges. If it's a portfolio loan, I'm going to be honest with you guys, we're going to most likely stick to our timelines, but a lot of times with investors, you're going to have to let everybody involved know what the close time is, know that there's a lowball offer, that it's going to a lot of times take a little longer, because a lot of times we might need to order second appraisals and so forth. Excessive seller concessions and costs a lot of times become a challenge. Offers that meet the investor guidelines. Mortgage insurance, you guys ever run into mortgage insurance? A lot of times they want promissory notes, okay, and that sometimes kills the deal because the client's going to say, promissory note? No thanks, I'm just going to let the property go. And so that sometimes you want to be aware of that from the get-go as well. Processing delays, valuation delays, a lot of times if we have issues or you guys are disputing an appraisal, that's going to take a little longer. Team not fully engaged, buyers and seller realtors aren't working together. I think that's another thing that could many times create a challenge. On page 22, I have kind of a little guide for partnering with Wells Fargo Realtor Short Sale Guide. So go over that if you have any questions. Kind of gives you a guide and some information on some phone numbers for liquidation. And then on page 23, I also left a number for escalations. Okay, that department on your investor deals, these are just investor deals. On the portfolio loans, you have an escalation, you call me directly or email me directly. But on your investor deals, there's an escalation department that will help you. And then also, if you want to get me involved so I can escalate it to management, we can do that as well. But thank you for your time, guys. Do we have any time for questions? No. I'll be in the back for questions if anybody has any. Thanks for your time, guys.